Folks, it is time. Elden Ring DLC leak information, 9-minute, 31-second video. Y'all want to know the secrets, tricks, and secrets of the 30 new bosses in Elden Ring DLC? Leaky time, leaks. We're taking a little peeky on the leaks, okay? A little peeky of the leaky. We're doing a little peeky, a little looky at the leaky loos. Yeah? All right, let's do it. Okay, now if y'all know me, I loved Elden Ring. I love Dark Souls. I love all the Souls games. I know there's a lot of people here that, they love it. And I was incredibly relieved that it was not being released this year, thank God, because I'm not ready for it. But it is time for us to see what the future has in store. What's Elden Ring? Just something that hopefully will maybe get God of the Year? See, I meant to say Game of the Year, and it was a Freudian slip because God of War will win. We'll see what happens. Let's watch this.
Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and a new Elden Ring / FromSoftware update and news video. Very recently we've had some very interesting details come out of the data mining community. Some cool translations from a press guide, the potential general size of the DLC,
that looks no good.
Even that immense disappointment that was Gamescom Asia in regards to no announcements from FromSoftware. And of course, we've also got the ongoing progression of what we know and expect from FromSoftware next, so let's talk about it. First up then, a quick mention of when are we actually going to get Elden Ring DLC news? Well, we can expect that to happen at the Game Awards for 2022, which takes place on December 8th.
Okay, December 8th Game Awards, okay? That's what we're going to figure out. I think the DLC will come out next year. I don't think it's going to come out this year. There's no way. I also don't know what Armored Core is.
Been an ongoing expectation that we'd get something from FromSoft over the very recent weeks and even months due to speculation about, say, Armored Core, the likely next major project claimed to be near completion by Miyazaki himself.
It's another
ago. And that next project is
it's the
expected to
mech
be Armored
game
Core due to quite a variety of details, such as FromSoftware themselves accidentally potentially revealing that they have new Armored Core stuff coming as a relevant title.
When you Google FromSoftware, the main page for their site has Armored Core as a placeholder description. Well then, yeah, that'll kind of spoil it a little bit. Armored Core was the mech game from made a bunch of before Demon Souls. I see. So there's a new Armored Core out. I've never even heard of them before hearing about it in this video.
By accidentally listing their main website information as straight up Armored Core, which was a clear error on someone's part before quickly being fixed. As well as other interesting details like them suddenly releasing new figurines for Armored Core. Very suspiciously timed. So yes, we're expecting some information about their
look
new
really
and very
cool,
close
though.
to completion new project, Elden Ring DLC, and maybe some of the other stuff that Miyazaki has referenced that they're also working on. But why have we not heard anything yet? With multiple events like the Tokyo Game Show back in September and also Gamescom Asia very recently, we've had nothing. The Tokyo Game Show is an event that FromSoftware has a long history of doing big reveals at, and that came and went. With Gamescom Asia, which happened last month, that was another great potential for maybe something. We got nothing. So at this point, we are heavily expecting it to be finally at the Game Awards, which does have major announcements and reveals every year in an E3 style of format,
I'm so excited.
it. So I wouldn't be that surprised if the Game
I
Awards
wonder what
had
else is going to
paid
be
for
released
the
then.
announcements to be at the said event to garner more interest and viewership. After all, in my opinion, Elden Ring is going to be Game of the Year, and they probably know that. Still, I'm bewildered
we'll
so
see,
far
we'll see.
into all
I
these
don't know.
opportunities for them to announce something, and yet we have nothing official. So it's all riding on the Game Awards this December 8th. Moving on though, let's talk about some exciting information about the Elden Ring
Tell us about the
DLC.
juice. Give us the
We
juice.
have new data mined information that indicates even more setup for the DLC itself and a possible suggestion as to the size of the DLC. The absolute champion, Sekiro Doobie, a brilliant Soulsborne creator and source of data mine info for Elden Ring so far, has found something very interesting. There are now 30 flags for DLC purposes, meaning in the files right now, there are the slots for assigned bosses and their rewards. What we're looking at here then are the events that play after defeating a boss. So say the very first one at the top, we have Margit here, and as you'll likely know, when you beat Margit, you get your first talisman pouch, increasing your talisman slots, and that's listed there. Margit being the boss name, and then there's the reward that follows.
Yeah, spoilers by the way.
Well, from that we know we get his Great Rune and the Remembrance, and there it is listed, his Great Great Rune and the Remembrance of the Grafted. Interestingly, there's also cut content in this listing. So there's an unused slot for a boss for Stormveil, which was apparently planned to be at the back of the keep, but was never used and was just simply left as unknown. Doobie also highlighted flag 9124, which you can see under the Elden Beast, as the no name, no item slot listing. So potentially that's another unused boss or cut content, of which there are a few we know about, right? Either way, there are now 30 flags for the DLC to use in the file.
So many
that's a possibility
bosses.
of roughly 30 bosses to fight in the first DLC alone, giving us that context of maybe the size of the DLC. The base game had a hilarious amount of bosses, but the difficulty of saying how many bosses are actually in Elden Ring comes down to your opinion. Do you consider the exact same boss fight?
Because it makes sense why there's so many, because there's just so many variations of how many bosses there are in Elden Ring. There's like the main storyline bosses you have to fight, and then there's just like a bunch of optional bosses. So I'm sure the 30 that are there, if those are even bosses, a lot of them probably aren't going to be like main storyline DLC bosses. A lot of them will probably be like hopefully not, honestly. Like some of the dungeon ones were cool, but there are definitely like a couple of repeats even in the main storyline. That was kind of not my favorite thing. So hopefully there's more like original ones. Yeah, it could be 7 of those janky giant cat things. Those giant cat things. I don't know what you mean. It's been a while since I played Elden Ring, so it's hard to remember that stuff. Yeah, probably 5 story bosses, rest are smaller ones. Yeah, I think that feels about right, because I don't even know how many were main storyline bosses in Elden Ring. Yeah, I would imagine a few dungeon small bosses, some roaming bosses, and like 4 or 5 main bosses. Yeah, that seems like a pretty solid guess, I'd say. Yeah, I do want to say as a dev, data mine leaks absolutely ruined dev mental health and a drive to work. Yeah, it would have been nice if this was information that was leaked consensually. But unfortunately here we are, you know.
But later in the game, and now
Crab
there's 2
boss?
of them as another
Squid
unique
Game?
boss fight. Or don't you? Should that count into the tally? The number varies depending on who you ask, and that's maybe why there's a lot of confusion. Ultimately, there's over 100 unique fights, with 165 being a somewhat agreed upon number. The DLC of a current potential 30 would be close to 1/6 the amount of the original game then. I think that size makes a lot of sense for a DLC. You know, just a first one at that, remember, compared to the Soulsborne series and their DLCs and the size compared to the originals. Map-wise, I would say you could imagine, say, the size of Limgrave or the Lakes or any one of the major main regions. That could be the size of the DLC.
Yeah, I hope that the new area looks so cool.
As Doobie mentioned, these slots are merely the potential for bosses though. They don't have to use all of these. So maybe there's 30 slots and they only use 25 or whatever. We see that reflected in the full game and the slots available there, but they did use most of them, so roughly 30 bosses is still a reasonable guess. We know from Miyazaki himself that they are working on multiple projects now, and he is stepping back from being a director of everything, meaning they're able to produce more projects at once, and hopefully that will mean FromSoftware has a release schedule that's a bit more reliable, maybe even, it'd be crazy, but maybe something every year. There was the potential leak of Project Abyss, the very questionable leak at that, based on the information and all the things in it, to do with a sort of Dark Souls 3.5 set in a sort of eldritch underwater themed game where we would have new magic, new weapons. We'd be able to go underwater, not necessarily swimming, but with a deep sea eldritch theme to it. Certainly sounds cool, but a lot of the details
Dark Souls 3.5
very questionable. I wasn't particularly believing it myself, but we have a whole video where we talk about that. Then there's Armored Core, which I've obviously mentioned in this video. We also have a full video on that if you want to learn more about that.
Mermaid
but in
Souls!
essence, I am fully expecting FromSoftware to announce something major at the Game Awards show. We are expecting
because they talk
DLC
so much about the Abyss
imminently.
in Dark Souls, like the Abyss Watchers, like there's so much about that. And so if you actually get to like go, and you get to fight like an interesting version of like Artorias and stuff, can you imagine? That would be so...
We are expecting a reveal and information about their upcoming next major project, which I speculate
I'm desperate for another Souls game.
And then there's all their other projects, which maybe we won't hear about anytime soon, but it's nice to know that they're working on them right now. What do you guys think? Is the Game Awards finally gonna show us what we're gonna get next? And when do you think the DLC will actually come? Like, what will be the release date? If I had to guess, I would say roughly 1 year after the initial launch of Elden Ring. So late February, early March.
Yeah.
That would be my
Because that's when
guess
people were
as to
originally
when the
saying it was
DLC
going to be out.
will launch. But we'll have to wait and see. If you do enjoy these news information style videos about FromSoftware and Elden Ring,
Go
then
check
please
out
drop
this
a like.
video.
It means that I'm able to keep doing
Link
them
down
in the
below.
future. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks so much for watching.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Dang. If they oh, I don't know what this is. But if there's another like a Dark Souls 4 essentially, can you imagine? That'd be so cool. I'd be a very big fan of that, because honestly Elden Ring was really cool, but it was just so big. It'd be so cool to have a more like linear, like Dark Souls kind of game.